Hello there, welcome to the news on Nepal television. I'm Rujina Rai, starting with the headlines first. PM Dahal addresses the 78th session of UNGSA's completing remaining task of transitional justice is Nepal's top political agenda. Formal talks between agitating teachers federation and the government are rescheduled for the afternoon talks rescheduled to make necessary preparations. One killed as clashes break out in a juvenile center in Baké, 10 others injured. Police mobilized to avoid further escalation. Canadian PM Trudeau wants India to cooperate in murder probe of murder of Sikh separatist leader, however declines to release evidence. And Nepal women's football team facing Vietnam today in its first match being held under the 19th Asian Games. Welcome back. Now we have the news in detail. Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal has said that Nepal is now closer to logically concluding its unique, nationally owned and homegrown peace process. In his address to the general debate of the 78th session of United Nations General Assembly UNGA on Thursday, the PM said that completing the remaining task of transitional justice is top of his political agenda.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I congratulate Madam President and member of the Bureau on your respective election. I also express my deep appreciation to the United Nations Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres for his unremitting efforts to strengthen the United Nations and promote the cause of multilateralism. There could be no better time to deliberate on the theme rebuilding trust and reigniting global solidarity, particularly when trust and cooperation are in short supply and crises of confidence reign the world. Today, due to the resurgence of geopolitical competition, power polarization and economic nationalism, maintenance of world peace and security, the foremost goal of the UN Charter, have come under serious strain. Spending on arms is on the rise, but resources for the realization of the 2030 agenda have become scarce. We must correct this course and focus on our common goal of peace, prosperity, and progress. It is time to build trust, promote partnership and collaboration, and work in solidarity when the world is facing the challenges of unprecedented scale and nature. Madam President, I have fond memories of addressing this august assembly back in 2008 as the Prime Minister of a country that had just made a transformation of historic proportion, a transformation from armed conflict to an inclusive and nationally owned peace process, a transformation from centuries-old feudal monarchical rule to a democratic republican order, and a transformation to a multi-party democratic polity where participation of all sections of our society is ensured. 15 years on, we have come a long way. We successfully transitioned through a nationally led peace process. We promulgated a democratic constitution in 2015 by an elected constituent assembly, which has consolidated the universally recognized values of human rights, participatory democracy, periodic election, inclusive proportional representation, full press freedom, independent judiciary, and rule of law. The successive two cycles of federal provincial and local elections have resulted in increased participation of women, Dalits, youths, and underrepresented communities at all levels of governance. We have been able to ensure 41% of representation of women in local assemblies. A minimum of 33% representation of women is constitutionally guaranteed in the provincial assembly and federal parliament. We have firmly established that the sovereignty lies in Nepali people, and they are the real source of state power. We are now closer to logically concluding our unique, nationally owned and homegrown peace process. Completing the remaining task of transitional justice is top on my political agenda. As Prime Minister of a co-signatory of the Comprehensive Peace Accord, I have been making serious effort to bridge the gaps and build consensus among the key stakeholders. An amendment bill related to the transitional justice has been tabled at the federal parliament to address the concern of the victims, strike a right balance between peace, justice, and reparation, and to make the transitional justice process broadly owned by our society. The proposed bill evolved through a wider consultative process, taking a victim-centric approach and recognize a reparation as victims' right. In the process, there will be no blanket amnesty for the serious violation of human rights. The ultimate objective is to establish an enduring peace in the country and foster harmony in society through peace, justice, and reconciliation.
Meanwhile, PM Dahal will be leaving directly to Hangzhou, China from New York for his official visit to Northern Neighbor. Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal is paying an official visit to the People's Republic of China from 23rd to 13th September at the invitation of Premier of the State Council of China, Li Qiang. The Prime Minister will be accompanied by his daughter, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister for Water Supply, Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport and National Security Advisor, Vice Chairman of the National Planning Commission and other senior government officials as well. Representatives from business community. The Prime Minister is scheduled to meet with the President of China, Xi Jinping, in Hangzhou. PM Dahal will hold a bilateral meeting with the counterpart Premier Li Qiang and hold a meeting with Zhao Lezi, Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress in Beijing. The PM will also address the China-Nepal Investment Summit jointly organized by CCPIT and FNCCI and Nepali Embassy in Beijing. Prime Minister will attend the opening ceremony of the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou on 23rd of September. PM Dahal is scheduled to visit Chongqing municipality to observe the agricultural and industrial advancement of China. The PM will also visit Lhasa Tibet Autonomous Region of China that borders with Nepal. The Prime Minister will arrive in Kathmandu on 30 September. Now to the further development, the talks between the agitating Nepal Teachers Federation NTF and the government have been rescheduled for the afternoon. Following two inconclusive series of talks held on Thursday, the formal talks between two sides was called for this morning. However, the two sides agreed to reschedule the meeting for the afternoon, citing lack of necessary preparations following brief talks held at the Ministry of Home Affairs, Singapore, earlier this morning. Minister for Law Thanraj Gurung said today's talks are expected to bring positive outcomes. Deputy Prime Minister and Home Minister Narayan Kajashrestha, Minister for Education, Science and Technology Ashok Rai, Finance Minister Dr. Prakash Saran Mahat and Minister for Law, Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Dhanaraj Gurung participating from the government side, while NTF President Kamala Tuladhar, General Secretary Lakshmi Kishore Subedi, Committee Coordinator Nanumaya Parajuli, and representatives from the agitating National Teachers Association. NTF is on a protest, expressing its dissatisfaction over several of the provisions in the bill related to school education that is registered in the federal parliament. They have declared an indefinite nationwide school closure affecting the regular studies across 27,000 community schools. We shall get back with more national updates. Stay with us. Welcome back. You are on Nepal Television News. Now we have remaining updates. The Nepali Congress is holding its Central Working Committee meet today as well. The meeting will deal on various topics including current political developments, the party's internal structure and the government's performance. The Central Working Committee on Thursday initiated a discussion on 3 different proposals. In the Central Working Committee meeting that kicked off on Thursday at party headquarters in Sanepa, party president Sher Bahadur Dewa proposed to hold the party's Mahasamiti meeting and policy convention for November 29 to December 1st. Meanwhile, the Central Working Committee also presented a proposal to solidify a party's organizational structure in an integrated manner in all 7 provinces. A 21-year-old youth has died and 10 others are left injured in a clash that occurred at Jandu Juvenile Center at Dudua Rural Municipality 6 in Baki district. Superintendent of Police SP of Baki Santosh Singh Rathore said that 21-year-old Sulabh Kesi from Rupandehi died in the clash. Kesi succumbed to critical head injuries while receiving treatment at Nepalganj Medical College. Of the injured, the condition of 4 is critical. Likewise, the juvenile home was vandalized and set on fire. At present, police personnel have been mobilized at the correction home. An indefinite curfew order has been enforced in the district headquarters of Sarlahi, Malangwa. The district administration office curfew order was issued since 10 p.m. Thursday night until further notice after 2 communities clashed while immersing the idol of Lord Ganesh. Chief District Officer of Sarlahi, Indra Dev Yadav, said the curfew order has been issued up to Jim River in the east to Musaili Canal in the west and Nepal-India border area in the south to police post near Baba petrol pump in the north. The local have been asked not to travel, gather and carry out any outdoor activities during a time of curfew order. District Police Officer Lai Menwal said that the situation in the district headquarters is normal at present after the curfew order. We shall get back with more updates at the site. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Now we have remaining international headliners. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Thursday called on India to cooperate with an investigation into the murder of a Sikh separatist leader in British Columbia and said Canada would not release its evidence. Trudeau said on Monday that Ottawa had credible allegations linking India government agents to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in June. Promoting an angry reaction from New Delhi, Nijjar, 45, was a Canadian citizen. The Canadian government has amassed both human and signals intelligence in a month-long investigation into the Sikh separatist leader's murder. Traditional Canadian allies have so far taken a relatively cautious approach to the matter. Political analysts said this was partly because the United States and other major players see India as a counterweight to the growing influence of China. Now to the further development, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in Canada on an unannounced visit to rally support for his country. Canadian TV showed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau meeting Mr. Zelensky on the runway in Ottawa. It is Zelensky's first trip to Canada since Russia's invasion in February 2022. Zelensky arrived from Washington, where he had been meeting with US President Joe Biden and other politicians. Ukraine's president was in Washington hoping to secure further funding to help his country fight over invading Russian forces. Earlier in the week, he urged world leaders to continue to support Ukraine at the United Nations in New York. The Indian Parliament has passed a bill that guarantees a third of seats for women in the lower house of Parliament and state assemblies. But the country is a long way away from seeing more women elected to its legislatures soon, since it will be implemented only after India completes the next census and an exercise to redraw the boundaries of constituencies. The complicated process are expected to take several years. The bill now requires the president's signature, but analysts say that is a mere formality, and the bill is becoming close to a law. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said it will boost women empowerment and enable greater participation of women in our political process. But opposition politicians have accused the government of betraying the hopes of millions of Indian women and girls by keeping the timeline vague. To the more updates, before that, let's have a quick look into the highlights of the side. Shenzhou 16 astronauts showed their table tennis skills during a space lecture on the Tiangong space station, first playing a game of ping pong using a droplet of water instead of a ball. The two crew members, Ju Yongju and Gu Haizhou, jointly gave the first live-streamed class in microgravity from China's orbiting space station. As a part of the lecture, the two worked together to complete this table tennis experiment. In the beginning, Gu used a regular table tennis racket to hit a tiny ball over water, but the droplet struck directly to the surface of the racket. Then Ju demonstrated a racket covered with a towel with this towel-covered racket. Ju miraculously repelled the droplet. To make the experiment more exciting, Ju and Gu played a game of table tennis together with towel-covered bats. Ju explained that the trick was due to the hydrophobicity of the towel. Now we are moving on to sports. The Nepali national women's football team is slated to face Vietnam today in the first match being held under the 19th Asian Games. The match between Nepal and Vietnam, which are grouped in Group D, will kick off at Gwangju Olympic Sports Center Stadium at 12:45 p.m. This is the first time the Nepali national women's football squad is making its debut in Asian Games. Nepal, captained by Renuka Nagarkoti, has faced the Vietnamese side twice before. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin, but before we say goodbye, quick reminders of the headlines once again. PM Dal addresses the 78th session of UNGSA's completing remaining task of transitional justice is Nepal's top political agenda. Formal talks between agitating teachers, federation and government rescheduled for the afternoon talks rescheduled to make necessary preparations. One killed as clashes break out in a juvenile center in Baki, 10 others injured, police mobilized to avoid further escalation. Canadian PM Trudeau wants India to cooperate in murder probe of murder of Sikh separatist leader, however declines to release evidence. And the Nepali women's football team facing Vietnam today in its first match being held under the 19th Asian Games. Well, this is all we have for this moment. Until our next bulletin, have a good day ahead. Namaste.